Hey, everybody. Welcome. Glad to have you with us tonight. We're going to have yet another one of our great late night conversations. So, yeah, let's just do it. Let's jump into it. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I have to do something real quick. Pause. Pause. Hey, everybody. All right, now I'm back, and now we can do this. Had to do a quick technical update. Now we're back.
Spoken of the American century. I say that the century on which we are entering can be and must be the century of the common man.
A radical redistribution of economic power.
I mean, we know that racism is just a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people.
We need a government that will make sure Americans are taken care of and organize the economy to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few.
We now have the techniques and the resources. Get rid of poverty.
We got to start getting out there with the people.
Get out of the movement and get to the masses.
We need a government of action.
All right. Welcome, everybody. So glad that you're here with us this evening. We're going to have a very serious topic that we've got tonight. And I assured you all that I would do some investigation before I spoke on that at great length. We talked about it a little bit last night. But before we get to that, quick reminder, first of all, the way we do these streams is I give my opening remarks, which are on the topic of the stream. Tonight, it's going to be about the question, did Ukraine try to kill Donald Trump? And I'll show you what my research has shown and what information we have. That'll be the opening remarks. While I'm making the opening remarks, I would appreciate it if folks would send in questions, because the questions are what I answer in the second show. While the opening remarks are going on Rumble, people are sending in Rumble rants. On YouTube, people are sending in super chats, and those questions are coming on in. And then after I do my opening remarks, from there, we do the roll call, where I call you all out as I see you. We find out who's watching on the other side of the camera. And then after that, I answer your questions for the remainder of our show. That's the way we do things. So if you've got something you would like me to talk about in the second half of our program, by all means, send me a Rumble rant or send me a Rockfin, or there's no Rockfin, send me a Rumble rant or send me a super chat here on YouTube. Those are the ways to get me to answer your questions. The second half of the show is just me answering your questions. So if you've got questions, you got something you want me to comment on or respond to or whatever, send a super chat or Rumble rant, please. All right. Very, very, very good. Now, before we get to our main topic for tonight, I do have to give a couple announcements on behalf of our community. So for those of you who may not be familiar, this is not just me, right? I am part of an organization called the Center for Political Innovation. Our website is cpiusa.org. We are an anti-imperialist education project in the United States, and we have workshops and events, and it's all very, very exciting. You can get involved on our website. We're always doing great stuff. And the next big thing that we are doing with the Center for Political Innovation, the next big event that we are having is in Chicago area. We're having an all-day workshop called Working Families First, Build the Economy, Not the Empire. That is the name of our upcoming workshop, and I will drop the registration form into the chat here, so you can go ahead and register. We do need people to register if they plan to come. For a while, I had it where people were just emailing me, but now we do have registration. It's on the QR code on the screen, but it's also here. You can register. We've got a registration form for anyone who wants to register. Register for the workshop. Hold on. We would love to have you there. It's going to be all day, food, music, speeches, the whole 9 yards. It's going to be great. Peter Coffin is going to be there. Peter Coffin designed this beautiful, beautiful leaflet. It's going to be really, really, really great. So I hope that you all will make a point of attending. Everyone who's in the Chicago area who's a fan of this channel will come and join us. Register for the workshop. We would love to have you there. I think we'll have a decent crowd at the workshop. It'll be an all-day event. So go ahead and register so we can follow up with you and get you all signed up to come to the event. Working Families First, Build the Economy, Not the Empire. October 12th in the Chicago area. It's happening, folks. It's happening. And I'm glad that you are going to be part of it. And in addition to that, every morning on the Center for Political Innovation YouTube channel, we have morning messages every single morning. Every so often we might miss one, but every morning we have morning messages. So go to the Center for Political Innovation YouTube channel. You go to the YouTube channel and subscribe and go and listen to our morning messages because our morning messages are a great way that you can stay in touch with our community. You can find, get plugged in, find out what's going on the CPI YouTube channel. Start your day with revolutionary hope and optimism on the Center for Political Innovation YouTube channel every day with a morning message. And it's on the CPI YouTube channel. We have morning messages. And if you feel inspired by the work that we do, on this YouTube channel and all that we're about, I would encourage you to make your own morning message. We've had a number of people that are part of our community already do that. So if you would like to submit your own morning message, we now have a special link that you can submit a morning message with as well. That's right here. You can submit a morning message. Great way to stay in touch with folks. So that is an option that we now have. So submit a morning message, watch the morning messages, submit a morning message. That's what we like to do. Now, Gleb is doing what folks should be doing now, which is entering their questions. As I start giving my opening remarks, go ahead and enter your questions, and I will make a point of answering them in the second half of the show. Send in your questions for the second half of the show. A Rumble rant, a Rockfin tip, a Rumble rant, a super chat here on YouTube. Oh, wow. David Fox is going to come all the way from Australia. That's amazing. Wow. He just registered. That's amazing. Are you coming all the way from Australia this October? That's great. Well, there we go. Working Families First. It's going to be a great all day workshop coming up in the Chicago area, October 12th. It's going to be good. So All right. So first I give my opening remarks, then I answer the questions that come in. And then from that's the second half. We do a roll call in between. First opening remarks, then the roll call, and then I answer people's questions. So do what Gleb did. Send in your questions, Rumble rants on the Rumble, and super chats on YouTube. And now we are going to get into the opening remarks for tonight. The opening remarks for tonight. Did Ukraine try to kill Donald Trump? Well, it's a fair question. It's a very fair question for a number of reasons. The first reason is the latest attempted assassin, Ryan Routh, is a Ukrainiac. He is an American who is mentally ill. He's a maniac. And he's an American who went and fought in Ukraine. He's a Ukraine fanatic. He is a Ukrainiac. Ryan Routh, it turns out, was arrested 74 times. This man has 74 arrests on his record. How does one get 74 arrests on their records? Ryan Routh, the Ukrainiac, was arrested 74 times prior to his recent arrest for trying to kill Donald Trump. But in addition to, having an arrest record that's a mile long, it's 74 different criminal arrests, he also had an acting career. This guy appeared in a Ukraine commercial, a Ukrainiac advertisement. He actually appeared in a Ukraine propaganda video. I will show you that Ukraine propaganda video. He appears in this Ukraine propaganda video. This is now surfaced. This is the guy who tried to kill Donald Trump is in this video.
Слава Україні! Я вдячний.
Now, Slava Ukrainia is the slogan of Stepan Bandera, who was a Nazi collaborator who led an armed group that rounded up Jews and put them in concentration camps and worked to fight against the Soviet Union during the Second World War. And already this ad infuriates me because it's like, oh, look at us. We're dying. Save the children. We're dying. What about all of the children that have been dying in Donbass for the past 8 years, as Russia said, stop the bombing, stop the killing, right? What about the Alley of Angels, right? What about the 16,000 people who've been dying nonstop for the past 8 years since the USA violently overthrew the Ukrainian government? What about all these children? Oh, they're not on CNN, so they don't count, right? They don't count. All these children, right? They even banned the Wikipedia page of the monument to these children. 2014, the USA violently overthrew the Ukrainian government, installed a fanatically anti-Russian government right there. The people in Donetsk and Lugansk and Donbass region declared independence, and the Ukrainian government then started bombing them with American weapons, just started bombing and killing them. And all these children died at the hands of the Ukrainian government. And Russia said, stop the killing. And Russia facilitated a peace treaty called the Minsk Agreement, the Minsk Accords, that was supposed to stop the killing. And Ukraine never carried it out. And Zelensky ran for president on the platform that he would implement the Minsk Agreement. And he never did it. And for 8 years, these children have been dying. Oh, but they're not on CNN. CNN never told you about them, so they don't matter. It pisses me off when I see the Ukrainian people, the Ukraine flag people be like, oh, don't you have a heart? Then where was your heart for 8 years? Oh, you have a heart when CNN tells you to. It's so infuriating to see how blatantly biased and selective their outrage is. They have outrage when it's convenient for the government. Right? They don't care about Donetsk. They don't care about Lugansk. They don't care about the children of Donbass. They even banned their Wikipedia page. Right? They took down the Wikipedia page of the Alley of Angels. Right? Because they don't want anyone to know about the 16,000 people that have been dying in Ukraine for the past 8 years. But as soon as CNN tells you to feel sad, all of a sudden they care. But let's continue with this disgusting propaganda video that attempted presidential assassin Ryan Routh is in.
Слава Україні! Я вдячний кожному, хто сьогодні виходить на акції в Україні і в світі. Всім, хто розуміє, наскільки критичною є...
Yeah, right. It's like it's a protest, right? The American government is literally sending billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine, but they make it sound like it's a day of action. All these people are protesting. Oh, it's a day of action. Give me a break.
Хто розуміє, наскільки критичною є ситуація в Маріуполі. Всім, хто кричить про Маріуполь. Кожен день на Азовсталі – це нові загиблі та нові поранені.
See, care when CNN tells you to care. Suddenly have your heartstrings plucked and get emotional outrage as soon as CNN tells you to, right? All of a sudden, these people have been being killed for years and years by the US-backed government, but suddenly they didn't count until CNN decided they counted, until Russia got to be the bad guy, right? It's just disgusting. Right? And look, they're having a rally.
Долучитися до гарантій безпеки та евакуації.
Grassroots movement echoing CNN mainstream media propaganda, demonizing Russia, right? Oh, sticking it to the man there. No, it takes such courage to hate Russia in the United States. Oh my God. Oh my God. Look at these brave heroes standing in America with signs opposing Russia. Oh my God, right? No one's ever been brave enough to do that before. Oh God, this is so sickening.
Закликаємо весь цивілізований світ долучитися до гарантій безпеки та евакуації наших бійців, які зробили неможливе та продовжують захищати батьківщину, яка повинна зробити все, щоб ці герої змогли живими повернутися до своїх рідних. Іншої можливості врятувати життя людей на Азовсталі може і не бути. Слава Україні!
Героям слава! Right, and they're literally chanting a Nazi slogan there that was used by Stepan Bandera. And, anyway, I can argue with the politics of this all night. We got to get to the point here.
Ми родини військових, які зараз знаходяться в місті Маріуполь.
Anyway, I'll look at this grassroots movement from below, this mass people's movement that totally isn't being directed by the American government. And look at it. Look at these brave people that are standing up and protesting. Oh my God, oh my God, with all the billions of dollars we give them, couldn't they make a better video than this? Shit, you know what I mean? With all the billions and billions of dollars the US government has poured into Ukraine, this is the best they could come up with.
Та вся Україна вас просить це зробити.
I am Azov, I am Mariupol, I am Ukraine.
I am Azov. That's what she said. I am Azov, right? So she's the Azov battalion.
Sorry, it's really hard, but the purpose of the action is to appeal to world leaders.
And looky there! Looky there! Does that face look familiar to all of you? Wow. What a coincidence! What a coincidence! Who would have guessed? That random crowd shot during the Ukraine propaganda video. Oh, she's crying. Oh, God, she's so sad that Russia is protecting the people in Eastern. Oh, he's crying. Look at that. And she's crying while she holds her flag. And oh, my God. And she's crying while she holds her flag. And oh, my God, all these people are crying. And it's great propaganda to demonize Russia with. Oh, my God, it's just such great propaganda. But who is one of the actors in this video? It is Ryan Routh. There's Ryan Routh. There he is. A man who has been arrested 74 times. And yet Ukraine took him in. Generally, when you go to a foreign country on your visa, they ask, have you ever been arrested? If he said yes, 74 times, they generally don't say, oh, go and join us. But here we go. This is Ryan. Ryan's in the video. He was one of the crying extras in the movie, in the Ukraine commercial. He was one of the crying extras in the Ukraine commercial. Don't you love it? Don't you love it? That's Ryan Routh, right? He is a professional. This isn't just he's not just an idiot with a blue and yellow flag. He is a professional Ukrainiac. I mean, he is a full-time Ukrainiac. And despite being arrested 74 times, he went to Ukraine. We know. Went all the way over to Ukraine, wanted to fight in their military, and they said, no, don't fight in our military. But instead, they had him operate as a recruiter. And his job was to go use Facebook and use social media to recruit people to fight in the Ukrainian military. That was the job he was assigned. He was a Ukrainian military recruiter. Now, what do we know about his military recruiting for the Ukrainian government? What was he doing in his recruiting? What was he doing? Well, when he's bragging about his program that he engaged in the recruiting with, this is what he tweeted. Afghan soldiers. The U.S. Embassy in Ukraine is working very hard to finance this project. So the U.S. Embassy, which would be run by the U.S. State Department, was working very hard to finance his project of recruiting Afghans to fight in Ukraine. So this guy was running a project that apparently was run by the U.S. Embassy, the U.S. State Department, and U.S. intelligence. He was running a military recruiting operation for them. But now we have even more information. Now, this gets even more interesting. Okay, so now we've established that this guy went to Ukraine despite his 74 criminal arrests. We've established that this guy was unstable. We've established that this guy was a professional Ukrainian, anti-Russian activist. He was in their commercials and everything. But now, let's talk about what we have become aware of about what happened on Sunday. It appears that a whistleblower within the Secret Service has come forward.
Senator Josh Hawley joins me now. Senator, what are you hearing now from people that are speaking to your staff?
Well, what we've heard, Jesse, from new whistleblowers who've come forward about this second assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life. And here's what they have told us. That golf course that the president was playing, Secret Service have guarded that course many, many times. And what the whistleblower says is protocol calls for Secret Service to station agents along the places in the course that are known vulnerabilities. I want to emphasize the service has guarded this course many times. They know where there are vulnerabilities. They normally station agents there ahead of Trump's appearance on the course, but they apparently did not do that this last weekend. And the whistleblowers tell me that's strange. That's out of protocol. It's not even clear Secret Service swept the perimeter before Trump took to the course. Also a breach of protocol. And they want to know why, and so do I. I think the Secret Service deserves to give us answers.
Yes, and I have the letter from the whistleblower. I'll read it to you. This is the Honorable Roland Rowe, Acting Director of the U.S. Secret Service. Dear Acting Director Rowe, my office, this is from the U.S. Senator, writing to the Secret Service. Dear Acting Director Rowe, my office has received new whistleblower information regarding the most recent attempt on the life of former President Trump, raising troubling questions about the Secret Service protocols on that day. A whistleblower with direct knowledge of Secret Service protection at former President Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach, an individual who has in fact protected President Trump at the very location, alleges that there are known vulnerabilities in the fence line surrounding the course, and places that offer a clear line of sight to the former president and others playing the course. As a result, the whistleblower alleges it has been Secret Service protocol to post up agents at the vulnerable spots when Trump visits the course. That apparently did not happen on September 15th. Instead, the gunman was permitted to remain along or near the fence line for some 12 hours. It is further unclear from your recent press conference whether agents swept the perimeter of the golf course at any point, or whether drones were used to surveil the fence line. The reality is that would-be assassins should never have been able to linger around the course for that long undetected. Please answer immediately the following questions raised by these new whistleblower allegations. 1. Did Secret Service personnel post up at known vulnerabilities in the perimeter fencing? 2. Did Secret Service personnel sweep the perimeter prior to former president's arrival on the site? 3. Did the Secret Service use canine units or unmanned aircraft system elements to monitor the perimeter of the golf course? How were they used? 4. If counter surveillance personnel were present at the golf course on September 15th, as you stated at the recent press conference, in what manner were they deployed? Why did they not detect the gunman sooner? And what was the specific counter surveillance mitigation plan for the known vulnerabilities outside the fence line that day? So this is an official U.S. Senate letter to the head of the Secret Service. And that was the U.S. Senator on Fox News just there explaining this. Donald Trump has played golf on this course many times. And when he does it, Secret Service agents protect the holes in the fence. There's holes in the fence when he plays golf, and they station Secret Service agents at the holes in the fence to make sure that nobody does anything wrong. They didn't do that this time, according to this whistleblower, a Secret Service agent who has protected Donald Trump at that spot before. In addition to that, we understand, and this is what gets very interesting, the Ukrainiac, Ryan Routh, he was apparently, he was at the site for 12 hours. Right? This guy sat at the hole in the fence at the golf course, this vulnerability, at the hole in the fence around the golf course. He sat there with his gun for 12 hours. 12 hours he sat there at the spot where there's a hole in the fence of Donald Trump's golf course for 12 hours. He just sat there lurking, waiting for the moment when he could take the life of the former president. Now, you're telling me that, I'm sorry, I hate to have to use language like this, but we all know this, right? Let's say that you knew where a former president lived, and you knew that there was a fence around where they lived, and you went to that fence and you found a hole in that fence, a place where that fence had a hole, and you went there with your gun and you sat there. You would be arrested immediately. You would be arrested immediately if you did that. I'm sorry. I mean, nowadays with surveillance, you think that the home or the estate of a former president isn't monitored 24 hours a day and all of that. And you're telling me that this guy with his gun, with a rifle, went to a hole in the fence around the Mar-a-Lago golf course where Donald Trump plays golf, where Donald Trump lives, one of Donald Trump's residencies. And he sat there for 12 hours waiting for Donald Trump to be in the right spot so he could take his life. And for 12 hours, they didn't detect him. For a whole day. That's 12 hours. That's a day, right? That's, night and day. It's half a day or 24-hour day, but it's a whole from sunset to sundown, basically. He sat there for 12 hours. And he just sat there with his gun, and nobody stopped him for 12 hours. He just sat there for 12 hours with his gun. And now we've got former Secret Service agents speaking up about it and saying this ain't right. But it gets better. There was congressional investigation, congressional inquiries into this. This is an exchange that happened on Capitol Hill.
That's the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gates.
Thanks for being here. You had 16 people at Butler, and my question is, did they participate in a morning muster meeting that day of the attempted assassination?
Thank you for the question. I would have to defer any questions as to the on-the-ground operational activity in Butler to the Secret Service.
But I'm asking about your people, because the problem we're having, and Republicans and Democrats have noted, is we're not getting really forthright answers from the Secret Service in a timely way. And your agents, you had 16 people there, and those people either participated in a morning muster meeting, which is the protocol to make sure everyone's on the same page, has the same comms, that all the duties are correctly assigned and prepared to be executed. So can you get back to the committee with just a yes or no on whether or not they participated in that morning?
Yes.
Okay, good, great. I now want to talk about Ryan Routh. Ryan Routh is the person who attempted to assassinate President Trump at his golf club in Florida. And was Ryan Routh ever referred to HSI for further investigation of his activities?
Thank you for the question, sir. I recently, just this morning, learned there was an article that he was, when he entered back into the country from overseas, CBP had contacted HSI
Yeah, so when he entered back into the country, Customs and Border Patrol flagged him. That's what they're saying, that when he crossed back into the United States, Customs and Border Patrol flagged him.
Contacted HSI, I read all of the items, the things that he was stating, and basically, as a U.S. citizen returning to our country from Ukraine is a freedom fighter, based on the information that
a freedom fighter.
I read, there would not have been any reason to immediately take him into custody. He had not made any threats, for instance, against the president or former President Trump. HSI responds to port of entry calls, hundreds of responses, probably daily. Just because a person isn't taken into custody immediately doesn't mean that they're not subject of a longer-term investigation.
But you can confirm the Just the News report.
Well, he came directly from Ukraine, it sounds like. He's not just a guy who went to Ukraine a long time ago and then hung out here. He came directly from Ukraine, right? That's what's getting interesting here, right? So he came from Ukraine, and the Customs and Border Patrol flagged him. But Homeland Security didn't investigate him further. Max Blumenthal, shout out to Max Blumenthal for finding this clip and posting it. But they called him a freedom fighter, and they flagged him, but they let him through.
That the suspected Trump attempted assassin was flagged by CBP and was referred to HSI. Can you confirm that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, and it was kind of a crazy.
So they flagged him coming back from Ukraine and referred him to the Department of Homeland Security.
Story. So is it legal for someone to go recruit for a foreign military? Does that break any laws?
Yeah, I love this, right? You know, it's supposedly illegal for the Uhuru movement to have some Zoom calls with Ukrainians. That's supposed to be illegal, right? They're investigating Scott Ritter for having a YouTube channel where he talks about Russia and doing interviews about Ukraine. But is it legal to recruit for a foreign country's military? I don't know. This is like this, it's like all this stuff about, oh, you're being a foreign agent. We're going to investigate you for being a foreign agent, right? There's all kinds of allegations that if you make some tweets or you make some phone calls or you do some protesting, you might be an agent of Russia and we can throw you in jail because you didn't register as a foreign agent. Is it legal to recruit for another country's military?
Recruit for a foreign military? Does that break any laws?
Do you see her hit that pause? Like, she doesn't know.
I don't know, sir. I would have to. I don't
know. I mean, doesn't know if that's legal, right? And I mean, this. So if you go and recruit soldiers to fight for a foreign government, that might be legal. But if you have a YouTube channel about Ukraine where you criticize the U.S. sending weapons to them, like Scott Ritter does, the FBI is going to raid your home. That's crossing the line. Oh boy, if you're recruiting for a foreign military, you go to a foreign country and start recruiting people to fight. That's totally, I don't know, but my goodness, don't have some Zoom calls, don't engage in anti-war activism. That's a serious matter for the FBI to investigate.
Legal for someone to go recruit for a foreign military? Does that break any laws?
I don't know, sir. I would have to look into that a little bit further.
Me too, frankly. But if recruiting for a foreign military was somehow improper, then that would necessitate some need for investigation, I would think. And here's the story that CBP picked up when they referred it to HSI. They say in their memo, suspect is a U.S. citizen who traveled to Kyiv, Ukraine, for 3 months to help recruit soldiers from Afghanistan, Moldova, and Taiwan to fight in the Ukrainian war against Russia. Subject stated that he does not get paid for his recruiting efforts, and all his work for the Ukrainian government is strictly volunteer work. The subject stated that he obtains money from his wife to help fund his trips to Ukraine. And so when this guy shows up with a business card and this story about how he's recruiting fighters in Ukraine and his wife's paying for it, CBP says this is a little odd. And then they send it to HSI. HSI declines to further investigate. And what you're saying is you think based on the facts that you're aware of now, that was the right decision by HSI.
No, if I may, sir,
Yeah, so that's his story. The Ukrainians never paid him for recruiting for their military. His wife did. His wife, she just really believes in the cause, and she got out her checkbook and she just was writing him checks to help him go to another country and recruit people for the military. He says the U.S. Embassy was paying for the whole thing. That's what, he put on Twitter, if you'll remember. He said on Twitter that the U.S. Embassy was paying for the whole thing. But, let's not quibble about facts. What he told them was that his wife paid for it. His wife just happens to have a lot of money, and his wife, paid for it. But that story gets even more interesting. Let's finish this. Now, he says the U.S. Embassy paid for it, but she said he told them at the border, no, my wife pays for it, not the U.S. Embassy. Come on now.
That day would not rise to the level to take him into immediate custody.
But what about just like to investigate? Because sometimes investigations proceed without a subject being taken into custody.
These are longer-term investigations. We are actively participating with Secret Service and FBI. In fact,
no, I'm talking about at this point in time, though. Here's what you got to answer for me. When CBP refers this to HSI, what I believe happened is HSI declined not only to incarcerate this person, but to further investigate the person. Are you saying that they declined to investigate, or that investigation went forward and the attempted assassination occurred during the pendency of that investigation?
I would have to look into that a little bit further, sir. I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really important second thing for you to get back to us on, is whether or not HSI made an active decision in real time to decline further investigation of this person. And frankly, this isn't someone who was jaywalking. They tried to kill the leading Republican candidate for president and the former president of the United States. And so I really think it's important to get those answers. I thank you for being here. Thank you for all the good work of your agency. I yield back.
Yeah. Okay. So he went through the U.S. border, and Max Blumenthal notes that the arrests that he had were not like, minor arrests. One of the arrests that is listed on the record of Ryan Routh is possession of a weapon of mass destruction. That's not, jaywalking. That's not, that's not spitting on the sidewalk. That's a pretty serious crime. This guy had a shootout with law enforcement, apparently. He had a standoff with a gun with law enforcement, arrested 74 times, including one of those arrests for possessing a weapon of mass destruction. He went to Ukraine. He was in Ukrainian propaganda videos. He was recruiting for the Ukrainian military. He came back from Ukraine. The U.S. Customs and Border Patrol flagged him and said, this guy's got an issue. And the Department of Homeland Security said, no, he's good. He's good. And now we understand that his story is that his wife paid for the whole thing. Now, it gets even more interesting. His wife, who he recently remarried, and who edited his book on Ukraine, is a woman named Kathleen Schaefer. That's his wife, Kathleen Schaefer. And it appears that Kathleen Schaefer works for a very mysterious company called Maximus. The Maximus Corporation. You can go to the website of the Maximus Corporation. Moving people, technology, and government forward. Maximus.com. She works for Maximus. And what exactly does Maximus do? It's this company, and his wife, Kathleen Schaefer, who he just remarried and was sending him all this money to carry out his operations in Ukraine. She works for Maximus, and Maximus is a company that we provide transformative technology services, moving people, technology, and government forward. But what do they do? Extensive experience and guidance of our leaders. But what do they do? Our markets, state and local services, empower communities to thrive. What do they do? This Maximus Corporation, what does the Maximus Corporation do? Right? Citizen services, deliveries, enhance engagement. What do they do? His wife works for a company that is about engaging technology and government. But I'm looking at their website and go to their website. I can't figure out what they do. They engage in consulting. What is consulting? They consult, and they engage in eligibility enrollment. Like, what does Maximus do? Technology consulting services. So you hire them and they talk to you about your technology. This is a pretty weird company. Go to Maximus.com and you will see that this is a pretty damn weird company. Pretty bizarre corporation, this Maximus company. Does some really hard to figure out from their website what exactly they do. But what is the slogan they have? Moving people, technology forward, right? Moving people forward, moving people, technology, and government forward. Did you get that? Government. Yeah. Today's rapidly changing world demands that governments have the capability and flexibility to respond to the growing expectations of the people we serve, and they hire consultants. So they hire technology consultants for the government, and I'm looking at their website. I can't figure out what they do, but it gets very interesting. Their headquarters is located at 1600 Tyson's Boulevard in McLean, Virginia. just 6 miles away from the headquarters of the CIA in Langley, Virginia. Northern Virginia, you know, where the Pentagon is. Just 6 miles away from Langley, where the headquarters of the CIA is. It's this corporation that consults about technology with the government. And you can't figure out what they do. Looks like they might have done something with COVID vaccines. And his wife works at Maximus. Kathleen Schaefer, his wife, who he just recently married, she works at Maximus, and they pay her enough money that she can just send him money to go fight in Ukraine, to go recruit people in Ukraine. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? I mean, if this isn't obvious to you what's going on, I don't know what to say. I mean, look, we don't know 100% what happened here. But what we do know is that this is looking not good. And we also know that it's looking like Ukraine is becoming the big issue in the campaign. It's looking like this election is turning into a referendum on Ukraine. Let's remember this glorious moment from the recent debate.
I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of.
Yeah. Donald Trump will not say he wants Ukraine to win. He's not going to say that, right? And they've tried their hardest to get him to say that, and he won't say that. And instead, he's emphasizing in his campaign that he believes in negotiations, that he believes in peace. And he continues to brag about meeting with Kim Jong-un. And Kamala Harris has attacked him for meeting with Kim Jong-un, but yet he continues to brag about this. Donald Trump is positioning himself as the peace candidate at this point. That's what he's positioning himself as. I mean, take from this what you will. Right? I mean, all of this is coming to light now. Everything I just told you about the golf course, everything that I just told you about the shooter, the Ukrainiac who tried to kill Trump, who sat there for 12 hours, and where he's been and his lifelong record. And now we know about his wife who was paying him right? Wasn't paid by the Ukrainian government. No, he was paid by his wife, who works at this company that looks like not a real company called Maximus. There's a lot here that's making it look like, is it possible that the Ukrainian government tried to kill Trump? Actually, though, that is not the biggest question here. Because what many people have pointed out is that there is no really autonomous element at this point called Ukraine. Ukraine is basically just an outpost of NATO. Ukraine is just a proxy of NATO. And if this guy was getting paid by his wife at Maximus, and if, as he claims he was working with the U.S. State Department to run a recruiting operation for the Ukrainian military, I think the question here isn't, did Ukraine try to kill Donald Trump? I think the question here is, did the CIA try to kill Donald Trump? That's what it's looking like here. Because this guy seems to have his neck deep in U.S. intelligence. If he's working with the embassy to recruit people for a foreign military, he's coming back in the United States and they're calling him a freedom fighter. And then on top of that, his wife is working at this military contracted corporation, and she's the one supposedly paying for him to do all these operations, while he's claiming it's the U.S. State Department. He then is able to, they don't protect the course. I mean, all of this is looking to me like there's some pretty evil stuff going on in our deep state. And it's looking to me like Donald Trump is going to win. And I mean, that's what I'm really taking from this. Donald Trump is going to win. Donald Trump is going to win. And if you don't think Donald Trump is going to win, you are deluding yourselves. Donald Trump is going to win. He's going to win for a couple reasons. Number one, he's going to win because of the fact that it is very, very clear that in the key states, the swing states that matter, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, the Muslim community is not going to vote for Donald Trump. Or I'm sorry, the Muslim community is not going to vote for Kamala Harris. They hear what she's saying, calling the Palestinians rapists, saying that she supports Israel 100%, that she supports Israel's attacks on the Palestinians 100%. They're not going to vote for Kamala Harris. The Muslim community is not going to vote for Kamala Harris. And they're pretty pivotal. In fact, the Muslim community in big numbers is supporting Jill Stein. Muslim associations are endorsing Jill Stein at this point, the Green Party candidate. And I'm sure Jill Stein doesn't agree with them about abortion. I'm sure Jill Stein doesn't agree with them about gay marriage, but she's not in favor of Israel murdering the Palestinians, and Kamala Harris very clearly is. And it looks like the Muslims of Dearborn, Michigan are not going to vote for Kamala Harris. It looks like the people who brought us Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are not going to bring us Kamala Harris. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to do it. Meanwhile, I don't know if folks saw the recent Kamala Harris interview. I don't know if people saw the recent Kamala Harris interview that she did with Oprah. But this is, you want to talk about a case of like the emperor has no clothes. I don't know if you saw this, but let's put it on. This is Kamala Harris, Oprah. All right, let's put it on. Right, let's just put it on. And I will download it here, and we will put. I will show you. I mean, it was so unbelievably bad, and the audience is pretending to like it. They're pretending to like it, and they have to pretend to like it. It's like a totalitarian. It's like some kind of like totalitarian state where people are just phoning it in. It's like they're obligated to like something, and so they're pretending to like it. You watch Kamala Harris's interview with Oprah. It's so blatantly obvious that even the people there are going, "Oh shit." I mean, here we go, right? You want to watch Kamala Harris's interview with Oprah, which it wasn't an interview, it was a rally. It was a rally, but we'll put it on, but Kamala was just being Kamala, right? Kamala was being Kamala, and the rally was supposed to have a triumphant end. And I mean, this was how the rally ended, basically. I will put it on. You watch this. I mean, watch it for yourself. All right, we'll the triumphant end of the rally, it's supposed to be.
What is on your heart to say to the American people as we have 47 days until November 5th? What's on your heart? To say to particularly those people who are still undecided or maybe indifferent or on the fence still?
We love our country. I love our country. I know we all do. That's why everybody's here right now. We love our country. We take
Look at Oprah's face. She's like, are you shitting me?
pride in the privilege of being American. And this is a moment where we can and must
She on drugs?
come together as Americans, understanding we have so much more in common.
What the hell is she talking about?
Than what separates us. Let's come together with the character that we are so proud of about who we are, which is we are an optimistic people.
I mean, she's just muttering. This is just one of her, and
We are an optimistic people.
Oprah's like, are you shitting me? This is our next president? This is her triumphant end of the rally?
Americans, by character, are people who have dreams.
She's like, oh shit, I'm flubbing it. I have no idea what to say next. She looks like she's on drugs. She's mumbling about, we love our country. Yeah, we totally love our country, and we are, and this is supposed to be like the big ultimate end of the rally.
And ambitions. And
ambitions. Yeah.
Aspirations. We believe in what is possible.
We believe in what is possible. Don't you? I tend to believe in what is possible too. I don't believe in things that are impossible. I've always believed in things that are possible, right? If something is impossible, I tend to not believe it. But if something is possible, I tend to believe that. She's got me down. I'm an American. That's just what it means, is we believe in possible things, right? Sometimes we also believe in Bigfoot, but there you go.
We believe in what can be. And
what can be? Unburdened by what has been. Oh my God.
We believe in fighting for that. That's
we believe in what can be, what is possible, and fighting for that.
That's how we came into being. Because the people before us understood that one of the greatest expressions for the love of our country, one of the greatest
What the hell is she talking about?
Expressions of patriotism is to fight for the ideals of who we are, which includes freedom to make decisions about your own body, freedom to be safe from gun violence.
Oprah's like, what the fuck is this? Look at Oprah. Oprah. She's been on TV for years. She knows this is crap. She knows this is complete and utter crap. And look at that. This is Oprah, who's a Democrat, who's got ties to Jeffrey Epstein, or not Jeffrey Epstein, the other guy, it doesn't matter. But even she is sitting there, and she knows she's supposed to like this. She's getting paid to like this. And she's just like, this is shit. This is crap. This is crap. She's like, help me. I can't make this look good. Harvey Weinstein, Oprah is sitting there going, oh my God, I can't make this good. Just shut her up. She's full of shit. Oprah, I mean, you think this is going to win? You think people can't see this?
Violence, freedom.
Oh God, help me. Look, help me. We're fucked as a country. Oh my God, she won't shut up. She's not saying anything that makes any goddamn sense.
To have access to the ballot box, freedom to be who you are and just be, to love who you love openly and with pride, freedom to just be. And that's who we are. We believe in all that. And so this is a moment where we stand knowing what we are fighting for. We're not fighting against. It's what we're fighting for.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
All right, okay.
And I want to say,
and even now she can't even fake it. She's just like, holy crap, what did I just do? What the hell did I just do? Oh my God.
thank you, Madam Vice President. I also want to say, thank you, Joe Tate.
That is how she ended her epic town hall performance with Oprah. With that. That's how it ended. With that. I mean, this is what we've got.
What's on your heart? To say to particularly those people who are still undecided or maybe indifferent or on the fence still.
We love our country. I love our country. I know we all do. That's why everybody's here right now. We love our country. We take pride in the privilege of being American. And this is a moment where we can and must come together as Americans.
When does she make a
understanding
single
we have
point
so much
here?
more in common than what separates us. Let's come together with
A single
the
point.
character that we are so proud of about who we are, which is we are an optimistic people. We are an optimistic people.
Is there a single point that she makes here?
By character, are people who have dreams and ambitions and aspirations. We believe in what is possible. We believe in what can be. And we believe in fighting for that. That's how we came into being. Because the people before us understood that one of the greatest expressions for the love of our country, one of the greatest expressions of patriotism, is to fight for the ideals of who we are, which includes freedom to make decisions about your own body.
The only point she made, abortion, right? I mean, she rambled for a minute and a half and she got to abortion.
Freedom to be safe from gun violence.
And gun control.
Freedom to have access to the ballot box. Freedom to be who you are and just be, to love who you love openly and with pride. Freedom.
She's going to cry there. She's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm high on drugs. Holy shit.
To just be.
And Oprah is sitting there like, Yeah. But it gets better. It gets better. So you say, well, okay, Caleb, well, maybe she didn't do that bad because some people just didn't watch until the end. Well, you'd be wrong about that. This was supposed to be a promo that Kamala did. All right. This wasn't like a tough interview she did. This was a promo she did with Oprah.
So what did you want to say to the Vice President?
So, Madam Vice President,
we are just this totally normal couple from totally normal America, and we're totally happy and good looking in our normal kitchen. And we are going to ask a normal, probably scripted question to the Vice President, and she is going to look good when she answers it because this is promotional television. This is the shopping network, except for your vote. This is the home shopping network, except we're shopping for your vote. This is a promo. This is a paid political advertisement pretending to be journalism. So we're going to ask her a question, and she knows what the question's going to be because it's scripted, and she's going to do a great job because this is a paid political broadcast, right? All right, let's go.
And you're hoping to save money to have a second child?
that's right. Hi, Oprah. Hi, Madam Vice President. It's nice to be with you all.
Yes.
Don't they look wholesome? That's Rachel and Garrett. Oh, boy, aren't they great? They're normal and wholesome, and they're going to ask a pretty simple question, and it's all going to be great. This is easy. This is like, they say, like shooting fish in a barrel, right? This is pitching a softball. This is pretty basic shit, okay? If your political leader can't handle this, I don't know what they can handle, right? This is like the most standard, my goodness, why we're the wholesome American couple in our wholesome American kitchen, and we're going to ask you a totally not scripted question.
Hi. And so, what did you want to say to the Vice President?
So, Madam Vice President, we are, like many, many young Americans, just experiencing a very high cost of living. We ended up giving up our apartment.
See, she's panicking now. Do you see that? She's panicking. They said high cost of living, and she's like, oh God, this is going to be one of those where I have to like talk about stuff that people might know about.
And you're hoping to save money to have a second child?
That's right. Hi, Oprah. Hi, Madam Vice President. It's nice to be with you all.
Yes.
Hi.
And so, what did you want to say to the Vice President?
So, Madam Vice President, we are, like many, many young Americans, just experiencing.
She's fine. She's smiling.
A very high cost of living.
She's like, oh shit, they're asking me a real cost of living. What am I supposed to say? Oh my God. What did I memorize when I was studying last night? Cost of living. What am I supposed to say about that? Look at her face go down as soon as they said cost of living.
We ended up giving up our apartment, moving in with our parents who were so gracious to take us in for over a year so that we could save money and ultimately buy a home, because that's what we thought the American dream was, to get married and buy a home and have a baby. And now here we are, and our mortgage is incredibly higher than what we thought.
They're going to have a baby, and we're just a wholesome American couple, and they're not putting our last name out there, and this is totally scripted. And Kamala, we gave you the notes last night, and you know how you're supposed to answer this, and you memorized the answers, so let us just get our question out about our baby and our cute, wholesome American home, because this is all totally staged, and it should be really fucking easy for any politician to handle.
Thought it would be. And my sister and our brother-in-law are living with us right now so that they can hopefully one day do the same. And while it's beneficial for us because they help us pay off some of our mortgage, it's also beneficial for them because they can save on cheaper rent. But we really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah, first of all,
Do you see the look of panic on her face? Oh my God, I'm going to have to answer a question. Here we go. Let's find out what her plan is to lower the cost of living. What should probably be like the most important issue for any presidential candidate.
It's also beneficial for them because they can save on cheaper rent. But we really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah, first of all, thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family, and working hard and finding that the American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been.
Okay, did you hear that? Did you hear the plan? Did you hear the plan? How she's going to fix the economy and the cost of living? Isn't that a great plan? That's an amazing plan. Let's all go vote for her. Look at that amazing plan she just laid out.
And we need to deal with that. And there are a number of ways. One is bringing down the cost of everyday necessities, including groceries. So that's why I'm taking on, for example, price gouging.
Yeah, that was, wow. I mean, when you look at the look on her face, when they ask her, the look of terror and the blah, 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 blah answer. I mean, this is, right? Look at this.
Gracious to take us in for over a year so that we could save money and ultimately buy a home, because that's what we thought the American dream was, to get married and buy a home and have a baby. And now here we are, and our mortgage is incredibly higher than what we thought it would be. And my sister and our brother-in-law are living with us right now so that they can hopefully one day do the same. And while it's beneficial for us because they help us pay off some of our mortgage, it's also beneficial for them because they can save on cheaper rent. But we really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Help me! Oh my God, they asked me what my plan is. Do you see this look of utter terror on her face? They asked her what her plan is. This is a scripted question. That's how she's responding to a scripted question. That couple are as close, maybe they're not actors, but they're as close to actors as you can get. She knew the question was coming, and she started panicking as soon as they said cost of living, and then she's like, oh God, I don't remember that part. Oh my God, I forgot to memorize that part. Which flashcard was it? Oh my God, last night I went over the flashcard like 6 times. I can't remember the answer. I can't remember the answer. Oh my God. And she's like a deer in the headlights. Oh my God, they asked me about cost of living. Help, help. This is going to be the woman running our country? I mean, do you see that? I mean, this is like, are you serious? This is her response to a scripted question. Right? This is her response to a scripted question.
Yeah, first of all,
yeah. Okay.
Thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family and working hard and finding that the American dream is.
Now look at them. They're kind of like, oh shit. Yeah, she can't answer our question. Even the actors are the couple that are totally not actors, totally just real, normal, wholesome Americans in their wholesome American kitchen are sitting there and they're just like, oh God, can she please not look bad when answering our question?
For this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been. And we need.
Okay, yeah, elusive. And look, she nods. Yeah, that we can nod. It's elusive. Damn right. It's elusive.
To deal with that. And there are a number of ways. One is bringing down the cost of.
All right. I mean, you think people can't see this? You think people can't see what you and I just saw? The way she ended her press conference, the way she responded to a scripted question from what looked a lot like an acting couple. I mean, I think Trump is going to win. And if Trump doesn't win, I think I'm going to have some serious questions because I think Trump is going to win. But let me add what I wrote in my book, right? This book is still like, I mean, it's funny because I wrote it 4 years ago before she was vice president. Right. And I talked about how Kamala is a damaged person psychologically, that they know how to push her buttons, that she has a lot of rage and anger at other people, that she has a lot of hatred for her father on a personal level, and that, you know, she is somebody that they have put into this position and that she did evil things when she was a prosecutor in California, very, very evil things, and that she's proved that she has no qualms harming other people, no empathy, no qualms about it, sending people to jail for false drug positives. You know, she's got no qualms about it. I wrote this book 4 years ago. The day she got the nomination, they banned it from Amazon. They removed it for 7 days from Amazon because they didn't want people to read it because they're trying to boost her. I mean, yeah. So this is our election. This is our election here. You know, that's what we got. That's what we're dealing with here. So folks, you know, I don't know what to say. But I will say this. I've been talking and warning you all about Kamala Harris for a long time. And at the end of the day, I do want people to not get caught up in the election. I thought, you know what? I'm going to talk about something else. I'm going to talk about something that's kind of unrelated to Trump and Kamala Harris. I'm going to talk about Jill Stein because, you know, we had a great meeting of the Center for Political Innovation this afternoon. We had our weekly meeting, great great crowd of people there. And we talked about things. And one thing that came up, and we had a great conversation about it, is Jill Stein, right? I was standing next to Jill Stein at the Uhuru trial, and she was there to support the Uhuru movement. And Jill Stein, she's getting all the endorsements from Muslims now because, she takes a better stand on Palestine than any of the Democrats, or at least the Democrat candidate Kamala Harris does. And it's been pointed out that Jill Stein recently put out a statement where she referred to Vladimir Putin and Bashar al-Assad, the presidents of Syria and the presidents of Russia, as war criminals. And there's a lot of people shitting on Jill Stein. Well, I would agree with that not being a good thing that she did. I don't think Putin is a war criminal. I don't think Assad is a war criminal. But that said, I mean, who cares? Who cares? I mean, Jill Stein is Jill Stein. I mean, Jill Stein's not going to win the election. She's running to give someone other than the something that people who don't want to vote for Trump and don't want to vote for Kamala Harris, to give them a voice and give them someone to vote for. She's basically running to make a statement and to enable people to make statements. And that's it. And I noticed a lot of people that I respect and agree with have started dumping on Jill Stein. And it's like, who cares? I mean, if Jill Stein made that statement, I mean, Jill Stein is playing a very, very important role with Uhuru, with calling for peace and negotiations in Ukraine. And she made a statement that was pandering to liberals, right? And that's disappointing. But is that the most important thing? Right? I am liking the Jill Stein boost. I'm liking that AOC is attacking Jill Stein and she's fighting back and people are defending Jill Stein. It's not time to, she made a shitty statement. Okay. She made a shitty statement. All right. Move on. Just move on. It's like, we have got to learn to not get into this, gang up on people who disagree. Look, Jill Stein made a shitty statement. She did. I don't agree with what she said about Putin. Don't agree with what she said about Assad. But as far as the role that she's playing in politics, comparatively speaking, she's playing a pretty good role. She will take votes away from Kamala Harris. And Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump should win the upcoming election. But Donald Trump is awful. He murdered Qasem Soleimani. Donald Trump is a huge Zionist. He's trying to make Kamala Harris sound like she's pro-Palestine, which she is not. Right? I mean, there's plenty of awful things about Donald Trump. But I think that he's, in this case, he is genuinely the lesser of two evils. I think Jill Stein is a decent candidate who's running to make a statement and to call out the Democrats. And that's that, and I really wish that people would just try to remember that, we have this internet culture where we always have to comment on everything and all of that. Just move on from what Jill Stein said. It was bad. Also, it's been pointed out, probably why Jill Stein said it. And this is an important point too. Why did Jill Stein say what she said? Why did she make that awful remark about Assad and about the Russian president? Because her campaign is largely being staffed by Trotskyites from Socialist Alternative, right? There's a Trotskyite organization, a fake, left and anti-communist Trotskyite group called Socialist Alternative. Socialist Alternative has a lot of members, and Socialist Alternative has got all of their members out there campaigning for Jill Stein, and they're pro-imperialist, counter-revolutionary Trotskyites. And so because of that, she needs to throw them a bone, right? And, if there were a bunch of people who agreed with us out there campaigning for her in the same way these counter-revolutionary Trotskyites are, she would have to throw us a bone. It's about bigger issues. This is what I want people to understand. It's about way bigger issues than personalities, okay? right? I don't think Donald Trump is necessarily a good guy. What he did to Qasem Soleimani in Iran was awful. He did very bad things with Venezuela. He may have tried to go in the other direction from what we understand, but Donald Trump was pretty bad when he was president. I don't think Kamala Harris is a good person at all, and I've written whole books on that. And I don't really think or care whether Jill Stein is a good person or not. I mean, she seems okay. She supports Uhuru. I was in the elevator with her a couple weeks ago at the Uhuru trial, federal courthouse in Tampa. But, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe if I knew her in my personal life, if she was my aunt or my cousin, or, I had done business with her or been one of her staffers, maybe I wouldn't like her. That's not the point. This isn't about personalities, and it's not about good guys and bad guys, right? This isn't a Hollywood movie, and this isn't about personalities. This is about bigger issues. And Jill Stein is a candidate who's on the ballot in a number of different states. And she's there to challenge the Democrat Party. She's taken some very good stances on Uhuru, on Palestine, on negotiating with Russia, etc. And I mean, it's bigger than personalities. And that's what I would really like people to understand. It is way bigger than personalities, right? It is way, way bigger than personalities. And that we need to remember that what we need in this time is an organization. We need an organization. And that fandom, Peter Coffin has done amazing work. He's about to make an amazing documentary that'll be a CPI documentary that we're about to release. It's coming out. It's about left versus right. But he's done amazing stuff on the question of fandom and how we have gotten into fandom instead of real politics. Real politics means you might vote for somebody who's an asshole because you're trying to advance the cause. Right? That is what you would do, right? Real politics means, you might be strategic. I mean, there are going to be disagreements, and I really would like people to think about these things. And the other thing is that, like with the Jill Stein thing, I'm commenting on here, but I'm not tweeting about it because it's not important. Right? I see the role that Jill Stein is playing, which is largely a good role. I see that she made a couple comments that I didn't agree with. And so I move on. You don't have to comment on everything. You really don't have to comment on everything. And especially now, and this relates to what they're doing to RFK. Right? I don't know if you've noticed, but they are now bringing up RFK's personal life. Right? They're bringing up RFK's personal private sex life. I don't care. I really don't care. I could care less. I disagree with RFK about Israel vehemently, and I have asked, but I really don't care about RFK and whether what did he do? He was friendly with this reporter. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about his previous marriage. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care, because my support for RFK, which is not, I'm not endorsing him, and but any sympathy I might have for RFK is about the fact that he doesn't want us to have World War III with Russia, and he's a national figure who's saying that and helping push back against the World War III narrative. That's why I care. That's why I care about RFK. I don't care about what RFK does in bed. I don't care about who he sticks his dick in. I don't care about what he wrote in his private sex journal or what. I don't care. I just don't care. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, maybe if I ever met RFK, I wouldn't like him. Maybe if I didn't met RFK, I would love him. I don't care, right? And it doesn't fucking matter, right? It really doesn't fucking matter. And the reason they're bringing it up is not because they care either. I can guarantee you the people bringing up RFK's private life right now, they're not bringing it up because they're just concerned. They're just concerned about, no, they're not. They're bringing it up to try and convince you that he's a bad person on a moral level so that you don't listen to him. And I did get your super chat. So that you don't listen to him on a political level. They want you to not hear what he's saying about Russia and World War III and Ukraine, and they want you instead to hear about who he allegedly, whatever. And it's all bullshit. And the other thing is that he can't defend himself. Right? And this is the other thing about all this, right? Everything with RFK, it was consensual, right? It looks like there may have been some consensual whatever, right? That's not our business, right? Unless RFK raped somebody, unless RFK sexually assaulted somebody, it's none of our goddamn business. It really is none of our goddamn business. It's not our business. It really isn't. And he can't defend himself, because if he defends himself, he's going to have to reveal even more private information. He's married. He's got a wife. He's got kids. He's got a family. He can't get up there and start talking about, well, this is who I did have sex with. This is who I didn't have sex with. He can't talk about that. Right? He can't talk about it, because if he talks about it, he's going to further violate his privacy. This is a violation of privacy. If you go into your history, your family history, your private life, I'm sure there are things that you don't want all over the internet. And maybe those are things that where you didn't do anything wrong, but you still don't want them on the internet. And maybe these are things where it's a complicated situation where, there are two sides to every story. There are often details about things that we don't know about. Conflicts between people, especially when sex is involved, especially when family relations are involved, is often very, very complicated. And if somebody just puts it all out there, you can't respond. You can't get up there and go, oh, well, actually, that's kind of right, but here's what really happened. No, you just got to keep your mouth shut. So he can't even defend himself. So they're bringing up all of this private stuff about his marriage and his previous marriage and all this stuff. And it's like, we don't know the whole story, number one. We don't know the whole story. And we shouldn't know the whole story. That's between RFK and his family, okay? That's for RFK and his wife and his kids to deal with. And that's that, right? No one's alleging any crime took place. No one's alleging that anything that's illegal happened. So it's none of our business, right? And they're trying to use that to not talk about his politics. And it's the same kind of shit. And I see this same shit over and over again. It's like we're all supposed to dogpile on Jill Stein because she disagrees with us, maybe on Syria and Russia, which I think she's just trying to, please various people. Her campaign is full of Trotskyites, and Trotskyites, as we know, are very, very bad on a number of issues. So she's trying to please the Trots in her campaign. I don't know how she personally feels about Russia and Syria, but over the years, she said many things that I've disagreed with. So we're all supposed to pile on her because she spoke wrong amid doing amazing right things. No, not going to do it. Now we're all supposed to pile on RFK, not for the Israel stuff, which I think would be totally justified. The way he talks about Israel is reprehensible. It is disgusting. But we're not supposed to pile on RFK about Israel. We're supposed to pile up on him about sexual private matters that are none of our goddamn business. That I don't care. I just don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. We should just not care, right? We really shouldn't, right? Because again, is RFK important because of his private life? No. And I see people falling into big traps. And this is what I really want to tell you. We're talking a lot about the election, right? And honestly, look, very rarely do you have an election that's going to change anything. I'll be honest with you. Very, very rarely in American history is there an election that changes anything. I'm dead serious about that, right? There are most U.S. elections that happen. It's Tweedledee or Tweedledum. No difference between the two of them, and we'll get the exact same policies no matter who pops out, right? 2004 election. 2004 election. If you listened to what John Kerry said, I hated Bush. I really wanted Bush to lose. But the whole election, I realized, as most communists and leftists at the times realized, that John Kerry was going to do exactly the same shit that Bush was going to do. And he said his platform was to call and to send more troops into Iraq. His position was that he was going to get NATO involved in occupying Iraq. If you read John Kerry's platform, he was going to do the exact same shit that Bush was going to do. If you read it, he criticized how Bush went about it. He said it was wrong to go in Iraq, but now it's the Pottery Barn rule. Once you break it, it's yours. At one point he said, you break it, you fix it, just like at Pottery Barn. That's not what happens at Pottery Barn, right? I mean, people, but it was going to be the same thing, right? Now, I think it would have been better if Kerry had won, just because that would have been a repudiation of what Bush was doing. It would have sent a message. But regardless, Kerry made absolutely clear in his platform he was going to do the exact same thing as Bush. The 2008 election with Barack Obama and John McCain. Barack Obama was up there, hope and change, and I'm going to do, and John McCain was up there, and if you read their platforms, they were going to do the exact same thing, right? They made a big thing about Joe the plumber and the tax rates. They were going to do the exact same shit, right? 2012, Mitt Romney versus Obama. If you listened to both of those campaigns, they were both going to do the same thing, right? We are in a period where this is one of the elections where it does actually matter who wins, right? There's very rarely in American politics is there ever a situation where which of the major candidates actually wins matters, right? The Bill Clinton elections didn't matter. The Republicans were going to do the exact same thing Bill Clinton was going to do. The Republicans were running this big austerity thing called Contract for America, and Bill Clinton was an austerity president. The Republicans were lock them up, jail people, expand the prison rate, and the Democrats were doing the same. It was, for most of American politics, there is no difference between the candidates, right? There is no difference, right? I mean, you can go back to 1968, Richard Nixon versus LBJ. Both, LBJ dropped out, and then, they nominated Hubert Humphrey. Richard Nixon versus Hubert Humphrey. Both of them were going to continue the Vietnam War. I mean, they were all going to do the same thing. That's the overwhelming majority of circumstances. This is not one of those elections. This is a very peculiar, rare election where the results could actually make a pretty big difference. Now, we don't know. We don't know for sure. And Trump is pretty awful in a lot of ways, but there's a big divide in the U.S. ruling class right now. And it is specifically related to Ukraine. It's related to Ukraine. And that there is one faction, the regime change apparatus, that is determined to escalate with Russia, to silence any critics and dissidents, and to go all in an effort to march us right up to the cliff of World War III with Russia and outlaw dissent in the process, to impose a low-wage police state in the United States, and to march us toward World War III. And there's another section of the ruling class that are like, no, we just want to make money. And some of them hate Iran and are focused on hating Iran and supporting Israel. Some of them are focused on hating China. And some of them are awful anti-labor people. But they're all just, there's another section of the ruling class. The bulk of the ruling class, the majority of the ruling class of the United States just wants to make money. There is the Eastern establishment, the Anglo-American establishment, the old money, ultra-rich, and their regime change apparatus. They are determined to go full speed ahead, full gas pedal ahead to World War III against Russia, and to lock down the United States into an authoritarian police state to make that happen, and to lock down the U.S. economy and to make that happen. And the bulk of the ruling class says no, and the bulk of the American working class says no, and the overwhelming majority of the population does not like the way our country is moving, both internationally and domestically. They don't like the fact that our country is falling apart and our freedoms are being taken away. And they also don't like the fact that we are marching toward World War III and spending billions of dollars while our country is economically falling apart. And so I wrote a book pretty while back called Where is America Going? Marxism, MAGA, and the Coming Revolution. That book is now an audiobook thanks to Tyler McConnell. And in that book, I explained what was happening. I just said, look, there is a division in the ruling class. And because of that division, it's pretty clear that that the fight in the ruling class is continuing, and that the working class is going to have to assert itself politically, that the lower levels of capital, the bulk of the ruling class, are going to have to enter an alliance with the working class. And the real dividing line is growth or degrowth. And the global imperialist system needs degrowth. And the bulk of humanity, the capitalists and the workers, want economic growth. The developing countries want economic growth. And so the degrowth faction, the ultra-rich, the imperialists, the ultra-monopolies that sit at the top of the world economy, they want degrowth. They want a low-wage police state, and they want war in order to keep in power. And the rest of humanity is rejecting that. And now is the time to build the anti-monopoly coalition that William Z. Foster wrote about. Now is the time to build a pro-growth alliance against the imperialists and to mobilize a mass movement to break this country out of the domination of imperialism, and to say that the future in the world is with the BRICS economy, is with the new countries centered around Russia and China that are rising. And rather than trying to destroy those countries, we should join with them and trade with them in a way that is mutually beneficial. That's basically what we need. We need a government that punches up, a government that instead of suppressing you and me, and instead of suppressing small business owners, it suppresses Jeff Bezos. We need a government that will kick Jeff Bezos' ass. We need a government that'll kick the ass of the Rockefellers and the DuPonts and Bill Gates, and will fight for you and me. We need a government of action that will fight for working families. We need a government of action that will fight for working families. We need a government of action to fight for working families. That is what we need. And we are not going to get it with an election. We're going to get it by building our organization. We're going to get it by building the Center for Political Innovation. We're going to get it by helping people to build community organizations and organize and build in their communities, connecting people with each other, getting people to learn how to work with one another. That's how we're going to do it. And ultimately, what we need is to build. That is what we need. We need to build our organization. We need to build our movement. I think Donald Trump winning this election will be a great thing if it happens. It's not going to make the whole world immediately better, but it would be a step in the right direction. It would improve things. Things would be moving in the right direction if Donald Trump were to win. But that's not going to be the determining factor. Don't look for the perfect third-party candidate to vote for. Don't look for the perfect voice on the internet. Look for the movement that you got to build, right? We need to build our organization. It is urgent. We need to build our movement. The city-building tendency, innovationism, our movement has never been so desperately needed. And that's really the only answer. I hope Donald Trump wins the upcoming election. But what we need is to build our movement. That's really what's going to determine the future of the country. What determines the future of the country is the balance of forces. The reason Jill Stein has said what she said is because she's pandering to people, because there's a movement, a group of counter-revolutionary Trotskyites backing her, and she's trying to please them. We need to build our own movement of genuine anti-imperialists that organize in communities and get things done. We need to build our movement. There's no substitute for that. That is the most important thing that you can do. I don't care if you vote in the upcoming election, and what I say is not going to influence how the election turns out. I'm just a guy on YouTube. But if you can build this movement, and if we can build the city building tendency, we can build our movement, a real anti-imperialist movement, that makes a difference. I would like to see you at the workshop that we have in October. Right? October 12th, I'm going to Chicago. We're going to have a one-day workshop. I would like to meet you there. And at that workshop, we are going to talk about our plan. We have a plan to build a movement. We have a new organizational model that we have developed in which people are empowered to start. I mean, I don't want to get into too much detail, but we have a whole new organizational model that we are laying out where we will empower people to unleash their creativity and build a movement that will expand and expand and expand. Right? I have talked about how my goal is to get you to be more successful in life. That is my goal. I am trying to get you to be a more successful person. I am trying to get you to achieve things. Trying to get you to find your skill. That's what we're basically reinventing the Center for Political Innovation to be. We have a new organizational model that we've developed and a new way of approaching people that we've developed, and we have figured this out. And so I would like you to be there at the workshop. I would like you to be there. And this is leading up to our big convention that's happening next summer in July. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be in Chicago for this all-day workshop. And in July, we're going to have a huge convention with 400 people. And we've got a lot of work to do. We've got to build our movement. We've got to build our movement. That matters far more than who wins this election. If we can build our movement, we can train people, get people to work with each other, carry out real anti-imperialist operations. That's what's going to make the difference. And there's a reason we're doing morning messages every morning. And there's a reason that we continue to build our organization despite, whatever, trials and tribulations and twists and turns happen. We continue to go because we need the politics of anti-imperialism in our time. That's what we urgently need. So I would like you to register for the workshop. I'd like you to be at the workshop. I would like you to attend. I would like you to become part of this. And I would like you to find out your skill and your strength of how you can become a more successful person and how you can use your strength to build our movement. We need to build a movement, an anti-imperialist, pro-growth movement in America. And we have a new model about how to do so. And we're going to have an amazing workshop. So I hope to see you in Chicago. I hope you've registered to come. I hope you register with the QR code or with what I just put in there. We have got a workshop coming up, and next summer we're having a convention, and we're marching forward. And so I hope that you all will understand that what is really important is not how this election comes out, though it's probably going to make a difference. This election is starting to turn into a referendum on Ukraine. That's what it's looking like. This election is starting to look like it's going to be a referendum on Ukraine. Ukraine, it appears, or people that are in support of Ukraine are trying to kill Donald Trump. Donald Trump has said he doesn't care if Ukraine wins. And Trump is bragging, even though the Wall Street Journal has attacked Donald Trump for the North Korea talks he did for meeting Kim Jong-un. He's still bragging about it. Like there's some interesting lineup, and it matches what I wrote in this book. Tyler did a great audio book of my book, Where is America Going? You can listen to the whole thing, right? There's a great audio book of it. If you go to the Center for Political Innovation website, go to books, hold on, I'll send you the audio book. You can listen to the whole thing as an audio book. You don't have to pay a cent for it. If you don't want to buy the hardcover book from me, you can just go to the CPI website and listen to the audio book of it. I wrote a book explaining what's going on, the crisis of overproduction, the tendency of the falling rate of profits. And if you want to learn what I know and what I've explained, go listen to the audio book, go and buy the book or read the book for yourself or do whatever you want to do, right? This is what I'm offering you. I have an understanding here that has taken me years to develop, and this is what I can offer you. And we have got to build a movement. We've got to build a movement. We've got to build a movement. We've got to build a movement. That's really all that's going to make a really big difference here. That's really what's going to make a difference. So that's what I've got for you tonight. So we got 4 super chats. We got 2 Rumble rants. So names and locations. I will call you all out as I see you. Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. Who is with us? Names and locations. Who's with us? Who is with us tonight? I will start calling you all out as I see you. Names and locations. We got Matt in Vermont. Welcome, Matt. I said, welcome, Matt. There you go. All right. Ryan in Kansas City, St. David's, Bermuda, Bendigo, Australia, David Fox, Joseph Johnson from Chicago, JT24 from Mississippi, Rice from Adelaide, Australia, West Oakland, California, Jacob in Wisconsin, Alexander in Norway, Auckland, New Zealand, Mosin in Iran, Denver, Colorado, Foster at the Maximus headquarters. That's funny. Alex in Brazil, Grady in Los Angeles, Courtney in Virginia, Jim in Miami, April and Chris in Salt Lake City, Tatiana in Fort Worth, Abel in Wisconsin, Garan in Croatia, Chicago, hope to see you all at the workshop. Gabby's going to be doing great work. She's already doing great work. B in the land, Cleveland. Orlando. Jose from Newburgh, New York. Welcome, Jose. Brooklyn in the house. Philip High. Valen and Seneca. Courtney from Wyoming. Mouse everywhere. Swift Boat. Palm Springs, Florida. West Virginia. Oregon. Justin in Salt Lake City. Miami, Florida, alien symbiosis. Names and locations. Names and locations. Anybody else with us tonight? Names and locations. We got Tom in Ontario, Canada. Welcome, Tom. Good to have you with us. Names and locations. Names and locations. Names and locations. Anybody else? Names and locations. Names and locations. We got Sami in Denmark. Welcome, Sami. Good to have you with us. Anybody else? Names and locations. Always a wide variety of folks watching these streams, and I'm really, really glad. It's always a great opportunity to be with all of you. So we got 4 super chats that have come in, and we have 2 Rumble rants, and I will answer those. But lately, I have gotten a few people asking how they can support me, because there is some weird stuff with my job going on, and I don't know what's going to happen, right? I figure, hey, at this point, I realize they could come arrest me at any time. I haven't done anything illegal, but, they could target me because they think I'm too friendly to Russia or whatever. And I also realize that my job situation right now is in question because of some recent events and all of that. So I don't know what could happen, but whatever happens, I will deal with it. I will deal with it. Right. And I obviously have a plan to deal with whatever happens. That said, there are a number of people, 4 or 5, who've reached out to me and said, Caleb, is there a way I can support you at this time? And there is, right? One way you can support me is you can just send a contribution on Cash App, right? That's always great. Always appreciated. And a few people have done that. If you want to help me out, if you want to support me and make sure that whatever happens, I get through it, Cash App. Great. That's one way you can support me directly. Boom. Right. The other thing you can do, is we right now are raising money for the convention next summer. We're having a huge convention, innovation, next summer. And we have started a GoFundMe, and I am not running this GoFundMe. Let me add, I have nothing to do with it. Right. I mean, it's my organization, but Peter K is running it. Peter Coffin's also involved. So if you would like to donate to the convention fund, because we're not collecting dues for CPI at this time. CPI is existing informally because of some legal questions that we need to deal with. So we don't formally exist, but if you would like to support our work, if you'd like to support the convention we're doing next summer, donate to the convention fund. That's another thing that you can do. You can donate to the convention fund, which is on GoFundMe. You can donate to the convention fund. So that's another way that you can support me. So if you want to support me personally, directly, Cash App, and if you want to support the CPI work, donate to the convention fund. And both of those are ways that you can help me in this time. But the main thing is, and this is a way I can help you, come to the workshop, because at the workshop, it's catered. So you'll have some nice food. You'll get to hear some nice music, and you'll get to learn all about our new organization plan and what we're planning to do with the Center for Political Innovation. So, come to the workshop and let me help you. Let me help you figure out your strengths. Let me help you find out what it is that we are doing with our organization and how you can fit into it. Let me help you eat some nice food and listen to some great music. Come to the workshop. So there you go. There you go. So now I am going to start answering people's questions. So first question, I'm going to do the Rumble rants first. And then after that, I will do the super chats. Oh, there's 3 super chats now. All right. All right, cool. So the first one is from Laura Lamb. She said, your coverage of Kamala's Oprah appearance is solid gold, says Laura Lamb. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I feel like I've studied Kamala Harris for quite some time. And look, I mean, you never know what might happen. And if she ends up as the as the president of the United States, I think every network should be interviewing me because I wrote a book about her. I'm an expert. So there we go. Thank you, Laura Lamb. That's on Rumble. Then the next two are from Hempcar. Hempcar says, pretty strange the SS said they didn't put a sniper on the Social Secret Service said they didn't put a sniper on the roof because the tiny slope when the roof they were on was pitched more. Someone high wants Trump dead. How did he heal his ear so fast? But how did he heal his ear so fast? Well, that's very interesting as well. That's very interesting as well. I assume they patched up his ear. You know, I mean, if you do that, if you have a cut, you know, they patch it up and he probably puts makeup over it. I mean, there's probably a scar there that we can't see. I would assume. But yes, I think it's very clear that there are elements within the deep state that are after Trump. I just, you know, that just seems obvious at this point with everything that I talked about in my opening remarks. And those elements are probably elements that are tied in with Ukraine. If you look at what just happened, all the details that I went over seems pretty obvious. And then Hempcar says, here's a good anti-imperialist leaflet. No one reads anymore, so quick flyers are easy to inform. And he links a leaflet, it says, unlock this page after an ad in 24 seconds. United States Real Human Rights Record. So he sent out his End Torture Now leaflet, that was on Scribd. He sent it out. I'll drop it in the chat so that people can see it. And thank you, Hempcar, right, for raising awareness about U.S. human rights violations and sending in your super chat. I obviously think the USA should not be torturing people. That's I appreciate that, and I'll make sure people can see the leaflet that you sent. And thank you. You know, I'm glad. You know, it's people like Hempcar who just they have their cause, right? And that, you know, I think about my friend Marty, who was at every Julian Assange rally. And even when there were 4 people out there, Marty was there, and Marty didn't live to see Julian Assange freed. He died. But he was out there for every Julian Assange rally. Let me see, there's got to be video of my friend Marty Goodman, who recently passed. He passed a couple months ago, or about a month ago, right? Marty Goodman. I think about Marty and how he was out there for every rally for Assange. I want to see if there's like a video of him or something. I'm typing Marty Goodman Assange. There has to be, because Marty Goodman, he was a transit worker in New York City, and he was a Trotskyite communist, and he was just a great person who dedicated himself to freeing Julian Assange, and he just made that his cause. And for the final years of his life, that's what he dedicated himself to doing. Right. So I'm seeing that his memorial service is online at the TWU Union Hall. You can go watch that if you want. I haven't watched it. But then there's also a video of him from 2008 protesting around the healthcare industry, around healthcare, protest against the health insurance company led by Marty Goodman. So I'll show you. This was my friend. And I would see him on the subway. So many times I saw him on the subway. I would just run into him and I would buy his newspaper, his socialist newspaper from him for $1. This was a lifelong socialist. His parents were in the Communist Party, and he was a 1960s anti-Vietnam War protester. He eventually joined the Trotskyites, and then in his final years, he stuck to his guns about anti-imperialism. He supported Assange. He supported ending, peace with Russia, or having peace with Russia, ending support for Ukraine. This is Marty Goodman. I haven't even seen this video. I just typed his name in. This is Marty Goodman.
We love our grannies. Next up, we're going to have Marty Goodman. He's a member of Socialist Action and TWU Local 100. And I can tell you a personal story. Marty's the person who alerted me every year to the change of seasons. Because, that's right. Every time it became summer, I'd get a phone call from Marty. Hey, Billy, you got to come down to the 125th Street station. We need him to turn the fans on. So I knew when I got the call from Marty, it was summertime. So we go out to 125th Street, leaflet for 3 days. Then they turn the fans on finally. So with that, I welcome Marty Goodman.
Thank you, Billy. Healthcare is a right. Fight, fight, fight. Healthcare is a right. Fight, fight, fight. Healthcare is a right. Fight, fight, fight. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I'm a transit worker and a proud member of the Transport Workers Union, Local 100. Hey, I know there's some transit workers out there. Let's hear from you. Transit workers. Yo. All right. You know, our union went out on strike in 2005, and I'm very proud to say I supported that strike, and I'm a proud striker. We showed the power of working people in this city and in the world that we matter, we count for something, and we shut it down. Now, I would like to challenge right here and now the president of my union, Roger Toussaint, to step up and do the right thing and say no to GHI healthcare, GHI HIP for profit conversion. That is a crime. That is an offense to the working people of this city, and that is an offense to the brave people that went out on strike in 2005. And I call on the other labor leaders, so-called, to take a stand and bring the ranks of their unions out into the streets, to this building, and shut this damn street down until we get some justice. Now, we've already spent $500 billion on Iraq. One day of that war can pay for it, single payer. We don't really have to pay a thing, but HR 676 is the way to go. It wouldn't even mean money out of the budget. But I'll tell you something right now, HR 676 is not enough. I've been to Cuba a couple of times, and the part that's left out when people talk about sicko is the fantastic healthcare system that they have in Cuba. They finally got rid of the healthcare for profit system, and so can we. Now both parties are sticking up for the corporations, and I can't go there. I'm a working person, and you know what? In 2005, we came back with a contract. Despite a huge MTA surplus, we got hit with a first-time healthcare deduction out of our paychecks. And you know what else? It's still going up. And there's no cap on it, no limit. And they want to privatize GHI HIP, which is what our workers use. So that would mean costs will go up even more. And our contract next year, the pressure will be on us to pay more for healthcare. And I say, hell no. We did it before, we can do it again. Working people can shut this city down to protest the crime against us when it comes to healthcare. We are dying every day, and we deserve to be treated like human beings, not animals. Healthcare is a right. Fight, fight, fight. Healthcare is a right. Fight, fight, fight. Healthcare is a right. Fight, fight, fight. Thank you.
That was my friend Marty. And I can't tell you how many times I ran into him on the subway. And when I heard of his death, tears came to my eyes. And then when I heard about Assange being freed just shortly afterwards, I was even more emotional about it. This is my friend Marty. And this is him speaking at an Assange rally that he spoke at. This was probably, pretty close to the time of his death because he died not too long ago. And this is a fairly recent Assange rally. So this is Marty.
And speaking of people who do a lot, here's somebody who's been a long-time warrior for peace and involved in all kinds of movements, from Stand With Assange and Socialist Action. Let's hear it from Marty Goodman.
Marty, this is a little too tall. Thank you. Love you back. Thank you. Yeah. Just the two, a 5'2" guy. All right. It gets worse every year. All right. All right. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Ceasefire in the Middle East. It's all one struggle. And it's Julian Assange who exposed Israel and its insane, barbaric war on Palestine and Gaza. Thank you, Julian Assange. Julian Assange helped the people of Haiti. We had a reporter on Haiti, Kim Ives, who exposed the absolutely corrupt and depraved attempt by the CIA and Bill and Hillary Clinton as well. Check into that, to keep the minimum wage down in Haiti. In Haiti, of all places. And they were making $5 a day, and maybe it's even less than that now, thanks to Bill Clinton, Hillary, and the CIA, and our imposed dictators in Haiti. But thanks to people like Julian Assange, we're able to mobilize, and the Haitian people get a glimmer of the truth. And of course, the CIA organized 2 military coups in Haiti against the democratically elected Father Bertrand Aristide. And if it wasn't for organizations like Julian Assange's WikiLeaks, the world would not know the true role of the CIA and its corrupt apparatus around the world. And now we're being kept blind about what's going on in Gaza by a corrupt media that refuses to tell the truth. It only gets the corporate talking heads to tell us what's going on there. And that's why we need people like Julian Assange and you people out here mobilizing in defense of freedom of the press and free speech, that we owe a lot of gratitude to Julian Assange and our movement that needs to grow in the streets. I'm not into politicians. I don't support the Democrats. I don't care who the hell they are or what they call themselves. The Democrats and the Republicans are one party, the party of big business and capital, conducting a war of extermination in Gaza. And they want to exterminate Julian Assange and destroy his family. Well, we're not going to let them get away with any of that stuff. We are going to stay in the streets. We are going to stay mobilized and angry as hell that all the bloodshed in the world is going on because of the guy in the White House and all his backers on Wall Street downtown. That's right. It's all the same. It's all the same. Biden, a friend of the working class, he tells us, oh, bullshit. Any of you guys, bullshit. I'm a union guy. The executive board of the TWU Local 100, the bus and train workers here in New York. And if I had my way, we would shut the damn city down with what's happening with Assange and the criminality in Gaza by U.S. weapons paid by us, the taxpayer, looted from our paychecks every week. I see Chuck's ready to shut me down. Okay? So I'm going to let myself go. I want you to stick around a little bit. Listen to some other great speakers. We've had great speakers already. Fantastic. They really ran down the issues. We say, no more bullshit. Free Julian Assange. Free him now. Thank you.
Yeah, that was my friend Marty. So A great man. A great man. All right. So now I'm going to answer the super chats. Gleb, who I've met Gleb before. I remember when we first met in Oregon. Good to meet you, Gleb. And I'm happy to answer your question. Thoughts on Judge Andrew Napolitano, libertarian, friend with a lot of left-wingers. Can you imagine a new popular front between socialists, communists, and libertarians opposing the alliance of fascists and libs? Well, it's already happening. First of all, though, I will say I'm moving away from using the word communist. And I've talked about how we're in a new stage. We're innovationists. Calling ourselves communists at this point, it doesn't help us, right? I think that we have the correct understanding of Marx's economic theories. We have the correct understanding of Lenin's concept of imperialism. But at this point, the word communism, it doesn't really explain what we want. And libertarians do believe in economic growth. They just are very confused about how to get it. They think you can cut your way into economic growth. They think free market deregulation policies create economic growth, and they're wrong about that. The dividing line is growth versus degrowth. That's the issue, and I learned that, and that's probably Lyndon LaRouche predicted that years ago, and he was wrong on many other points, but that was a point that he was right on. And in my book here, Where is America Going? And, which draws from R. Palm Dutt and his great book about fascism and social revolution. It draws from a lot of different places, from Fred Goldstein, from Sam Marcy, from many, from Nelson Peary and others. I mean, that is the issue, right? Is that capitalism is having a prolonged crisis due to technological advancement. And as a result of that, the ultra rich are trying to implement very dramatic, heavy-handed degrowth policies and trying to wage all-out wars around the world. And, the bulk of humanity is opposed to that. And the bulk of humanity wants economic growth. And the way that they're going to get economic growth is with an economy that's organized to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few. That's the way they're going to get it. That's something that, again, libertarians want economic growth, but they have the ideology of capitalism. But they're opposing the degrowth moves to try and, save capitalism with heavy-handed degrowth. I will put on the screen for you. Again, the Communist Manifesto is worth revisiting because there's just so much in it. And, I will put on the screen, a quote that basically explains what's going on. All right, hold on. I'm going to put two things on the screen for you. All right, hold on. And I will continue to answer that. There's a lot more to say about Judge Napolitano, but all right, hold on. Let me just put these two quotations on the screen to show you what we're talking about here. Okay. Thank you for your patience, everybody. All right, I think I just need to put this on the screen because this is, again, I sometimes I get frustrated, and this is why. I mean, I'm frustrated that we can't call ourselves communists anymore. I'm frustrated by that, but it seems like no communists know that these two passages exist anymore. I don't understand how this works. This is in the Communist Manifesto. 2 points. In these crises, there breaks out an epidemic that in all earlier epochs would have seemed an absurdity, the epidemic of overproduction. Society suddenly finds itself put back into a state of momentary barbarism, It appears that a famine, universal war of devastation, cut off every supply and means of subsistence. Industry and commerce seem to be destroyed. But why? Because there's too much civilization, too much subsistence, too much industry, and too much commerce. The productive forces at the disposal of society no longer tend to further the development of the conditions of bourgeois property. On the contrary, they become too powerful for these conditions for which they have fettered. And as soon as they overcome these fetters, they bring disorder to the whole bourgeois society and endanger the conditions of bourgeois property. The conditions of bourgeois society are too narrow to comprise the wealth created by them. So what is this? That human creativity and technology continues advancing to the point that it can't fit inside of the irrational profit system any longer. And that we have a great leap in technology, and it should lead to great prosperity. But because we have an irrational economic system, it leads to a big crisis, like this so-called housing crisis. It would appear that there's a problem with housing, because housing just keeps getting more and more expensive and people can't afford it and all of this. But in reality, there's too much housing. There's more housing than ever. There's 3 empty apartments for every homeless person in New York City. There's whole neighborhoods in Detroit and Pittsburgh with empty foreclosed homes in them. There's homes everywhere, but Americans can't afford to buy them. People are homeless because there are too many houses, right? And that this problem of overproduction, where abundance creates poverty, where self-driving cars is something people are terrified of, the economic consequences, millions of people being unemployed because of self-driving cars. This happens over and over and over again. Javier, thank you. And it looks like you get it. This happens over and over and over again in capitalism. Great technological leaps and great abundance leads to greater poverty, right? And this is the ongoing problem. And nobody talks about this. They talk about the worker and the employer, and it's unfair. And they talk about greedy corporations that don't care about the people. But this is the real issue. Human technological advancement under capitalism leads to economic problems. And what does Marx then go on to say? What does Karl Marx then go on to say in order to explain this? He writes, and how does bourgeois society get over these crises? On the one hand, by enforced destruction of a mass of productive forces. And on the other, by the conquest of new markets and by more thorough exploitation of the old ones. That is to say, by paving the way for more extensive and more destructive crises and diminishing the means whereby crises are prevented. So what do they do when we have a crisis of overproduction? What do? They destroy the means of production. They degrow. They force everyone to have less. They force the industries to produce less. They tear down and break apart industries. They destroy small businesses. They force everything to degrow to save the economy. And they conquer new markets. And what does that mean? They have a war. They destroy a rival country like Russia or China or Venezuela or Iran. They destroy a country. They conquer new markets. They people that used to buy from somebody else now have to buy from them. They seize new sections of the markets, and with more thorough exploitation of the old ones. They make us poorer, right? They drive down our living standards. They make us pay more when we go to buy things. They pay us less for the labor that we do, right? This is the capitalist system in crisis, and this is exactly what we're living under right now. The productive forces have greatly expanded, and they've expanded the narrow limits of bourgeois society, right? Of the profit-oriented system can't handle all these great technological leaps. And so now we have a crisis of poverty amid plenty, poverty created by abundance. And so now we have the ultra-rich, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are working for Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and the World Economic Forum, and they want you to own nothing and be happy about it. And they want you to live in a pod and eat bugs to save their system, right? They want mass destruction of the productive forces, and they want more thorough exploitation of the old ones. They want you to be very, very poor. They want to destroy the masses of productive forces, and they want to conquer new markets by destroying Russia and destroying China and destroying Venezuela. This is all the built-in problems of the capitalist system that Marx wrote about. And it's brought on by this contradiction that human creativity and brilliance has expanded beyond the narrow limits of the irrational profit system. And we need a rationally organized economy that can unleash human growth, right? And this is what I believe. And this is what I spent my entire adult life studying during the economic crisis. I knew that the economic crisis had come because of the computer revolution. The financial crisis, where people were homeless because the housing bubble burst because there were too many houses, the problem of overproduction. And nobody who calls themselves a communist talks about this. And if I talk about it, people say that doesn't sound like communism to me. And actually, libertarians who believe in economic growth, they like it when I talk about this. They think it's really neat. And so, as far as now to get back to Leb's question here, he said, so what about Judge Napolitano? Well, he was a regular Republican on Fox News, he started questioning things. And I mean, he got canceled. I mean, there was some stupid cancel culture that was waged against him, rumors about his private life and all of that. And he's drifted in a more anti-establishment, more anti-war direction. And I like the work that he does. I hope I get to meet him someday. I admire him in many ways, and he's somebody who, again, was part of the Fox News universe, who drifted in a good direction. And I think that's a good thing. And we need more people like him, more people within establishment media, more people within the establishment of politics who drift in a good direction. So, the fact that he's friendly to Scott Ritter and all of that, good for him. Thank you. Megan does very important work organizing with the People's Party. She's also a member of CPI. We're really proud to have Megan as a member. I hope Megan can make it to our workshop. I've never actually met Megan in person. I've been on calls with Megan many times, and I hope I get to meet her at the upcoming workshop. Megan is really, really great. She's very, very dedicated, and she's been in this a long time. She's very, very dedicated to what we're doing here. Gleb says, can you talk about the details of the Uhuru trial, what the prosecution was like, what the defense was like? Well, I was only there during jury selection. I was only in the courtroom during jury selection. But I got reports on it. The prosecution was the FBI. Almost every witness except for one. They had one Russia expert from Syracuse University, and the rest of the prosecution witnesses were all FBI agents. And the prosecutor talked about Cheka, and he talked about the Bolsheviks, and he talked about all kinds of stuff about the KGB and all kinds of stuff that had absolutely nothing to do with the Uhuru case. And the candidate, or the only non-FBI agent who testified at the Uhuru trial was this guy from Syracuse University, and he admitted on the stand that he did not know anything. He didn't know anything about Russia, or about the defendants, about the Uhuru movement. He just knew evil Russia. He made his career writing a evil Russia thing. The prosecution had a number of screenshots of alleged text messages that they had abducted, supposedly between this Russian guy and the Russian security services. But they didn't have any text messages between the defendants and the Russians. They didn't have, the defense focused on the fact that there was no connection here, that what they were accused of doing was just engaging in free speech, that they've been, saying and advocating the things they've been saying and advocating for a long time, and they didn't have to wait for some Russian to do it. And the defense was not able to call all of the witnesses they wanted to call. They wanted Aaron Mate to testify. They wanted, John Mearsheimer to testify. But they were not able to do that. And it ended up being a much shorter trial than they expected. And the verdict was a mixed one. And they found them not guilty of being Russian agents, but they found them guilty of conspiring to be Russian agents. But by ruling that what they did, their activities did not constitute being a Russian agent, the verdict contradicted itself. And they believe on those grounds they can get it thrown out. They believe they can also get it thrown out because of improper jury instructions. The jurors were not told exactly what it means. They were basically told that all you have to do to convict them of conspiracy is that they have to get together and talk. Well, yeah, but what they get together and talk about has to actually be illegal. And if you rule that what they did, what they got together and talked about was not illegal, then they can't be guilty of conspiring to do it either, right? If you have a conspiracy to commit a murder, you get a bunch of people together to talk about committing a murder, even if they don't commit it, they can still be guilty of conspiracy. But if you rule that the actions they're guilty of conspiring to do were not illegal, you can't rule that them conspiring to do it is illegal. And on that grounds, the verdict should be thrown out. And the judge gave improper instructions about about that verdict. That the jurors didn't basically understand what was going on. The other thing is that the only black juror didn't show up on the last day. There was only one black juror. Well, there's been many cases where they've said a jury of your peers, and in a racially charged case, right, where this is a black liberation organization, that is quite well known in the area, that has had a long history with the police in the area, has gotten harassment from law enforcement in the area for a long time. To have an all-white jury, that right there, the verdict could be thrown out on those grounds as well. In addition to that, and I must say, the jury many times made requests to the judge, protect our anonymity. We really need to make sure no one knows our names. And that's because the courtroom was full of FBI agents every day. And everyone was scared of the FBI. Let's just be real about this. This was a case of FBI intimidation. Prior to their prosecution, the Uhuru movement in St. Louis, they bought a number of buildings that were adjacent to their community center. They bought a number of churches that were for sale. They bought them, and immediately after they bought them, they were burned. They were burned down. The bank that they do business with, they've done business with these banks for years. They have a lot of businesses connected with them and all of that. They have official bank accounts. The banks have all been approached by the FBI and told, oh, you can't do business with these people. They might be Russian agents. And the FBI is acting like a criminal mafia. And the jurors were scared of the FBI. And that's what it looks like to me. And the FBI is basically a gang, is basically a mafia organization. And they target somebody and they intimidate banks out of doing business with them. And they burn buildings, of people they don't like. And it looks like the jury was terrified of ruling against the FBI. That's what it looks like. So, and there was a mixed verdict, but they were not guilty of the main crime. So if the main thing that they did was not considered being a foreign agent, conspiring to do it wouldn't be a foreign agent either. And on multiple grounds, they believe that that verdict will be dismissed, and they consider the not guilty of being a Russian agent. They consider that a victory. But the main thing is to make sure that they don't go to jail in the meantime. Right. That in this case, a lot will be up to the judge. Right. The judge could there's no mandatory minimum sentence. There is no sentencing guidelines for this case because so few people have ever been charged with conspiracy to act as a foreign agent, conspiracy to defraud the United States by acting as a foreign agent. So few people have ever been charged with that. There's no precedent or whatever. So right now, one thing that the Uhuru movement is asking people to do, and we will talk about this on this stream as it gets closer, is write letters to the judge and say that the community work that the Uhuru movement does, they are not a threat to the community, and to ask the judge not to give them any jail time. He should give them time served. He should bang his gavel and say time served, and then wait for the appeals court to overturn it. Right? That's what should happen. They shouldn't do any jail time for this, and it will be overturned. And we're confident it will be overturned in federal court because if the actual crime was not illegal, conspiring to do it is not illegal either. And the jurors were not given proper instructions. And they were misled, and they were told that all you have to see to convict them of conspiring is that they talked about it. And that's not how it works. That is not how it works. So it's an illegitimate verdict in the case that contradicts itself, and the whole thing needs to be thrown out. I mean, it's that simple. It's that simple. Thank you, Gleb. Are neoliberalism and shock therapy economics technically the same thing? Not exactly. Okay. So neoliberalism is an economic theory. It is the idea that the role of the government in the economy should only be to facilitate the private sector and should be very limited at best. It is the economic theories of Milton Friedman. Now, it's a little bit different than, it's in the same school as the Austrian school. It's in the same school, but it's the Chicago school. Austrian school, they don't want any Federal Reserve. They're like pure libertarians. Whereas Chicago school, they want there to be a Federal Reserve. They believe in monetarism. They're not full-on libertarians. They're not full-on libertarians like the Austrian school, but it's still the same economic theory that you got to get the government out of the economy to have economic growth. But it's a theory. That's neoliberalism, the idea that the state should have as little role in the economy. It's always better to have a private corporation do it. Austrian school wants the government out completely. Chicago school, they're all like, well, let's have, okay, if we have to have public education, let's have private companies, private schools for profit. Let's have prisons for profit, right? It's stuff like that. So it's a little bit different. The Chicago school is a form of economics called neoliberalism. It's an economic theory, right? Shock therapy economics is implementing neoliberal policies in a moment of panic. And that's what, it comes from the book that Naomi Klein wrote, The Shock Doctrine, that basically when a society is having a crisis, right? When there's like a crisis, you use the crisis to dramatically implement neoliberal reforms. And she wrote about that in her book, The Shock Doctrine. And she used a number of examples to talk about how in a crisis, right, like the aftermath of the military coup in Chile, where they executed all kinds of people, the military overthrew the government. Amid this panic, they were able to implement a lot of neoliberal policies in Chile. Amid the Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, when everyone was panicking and all of that, they were able to implement a lot of very neoliberal reforms to the education and housing system of Louisiana, right? And that they use a crisis to implement neoliberal reforms. That's what shock therapy economics is. The aftermath of the fall of the Soviet Union, a lot of chaos in society. So they use that to implement, neoliberal economic policies under Yeltsin, right? That they take a moment of panic and push neoliberal policies. That's the difference, right? Shock therapy economics is a way that neoliberal economic policies can be implemented. Neoliberalism is the theory. Shock therapy is a tactic for implementing it. It's a tactic for implementing the theory. I hope that is helpful. All right. Researching Maximus, it appears they do contract work with the U.S. Navy. Yeah, and strong military ties. You look at this Maximus Corporation. His wife works there, and she was just paying him. This assassin guy his wife was just writing him checks to recruit for the Ukrainian military while she works for Maximus. I mean, you can't make this up. It is so obvious what Ryan Routh was and is. I mean, it's really not a question of did Ukraine try to kill Trump. It's a question of did the CIA try to kill Trump. I do want to say, though, right, the Ukrainian Center for Countering Disinformation. Let me see if I can find the image, because I'm actually honored. I am listed on the same list that Daria Dugina, who was murdered, was on. I'm listed on the same list that who is it? That Trump is on, the same list that a lot of people are on. I'm on that same list, and I'm actually quite honored to be on that Ukrainian list, right? That list. I'm on it. I want to show you the image. All right. I want to find the image of the list I'm on, because I'm actually very honored to be on that list. It's quite an honor to be listed as an information terrorist by Ukraine. It means that the work I do is important enough, that I'm noticed enough, that my work matters enough that they decided to put me on this list of people that they consider to be information terrorists. Now, many people have said that list is a kill list. I certainly hope it's not that. But Daria Dugina has been killed, and now Donald Trump is being targeted by folks, and he's on the same list. I'm very, very honored, very, very honored to be on the list, right? The list, and here is my image on the list. Here's my image on the list. If you look at the list, I'm on it. They also did like an infographic of me. If I can find the infographic, I will put that up too. But this is when they first published the list of information terrorists. This is who they listed: Caleb Maupin, RT. Look at me, right? There you go. That was me on the list. But then they made like an infographic, which I was very proud of. And if I can find that, right, Caleb Maupin list. Let me see if I can find it, because it was really something special to be put on that list. I'll just tell you that much. But if I can find, like, they made like a special infographic of me being on that list. But let me see if I can find it. Maybe I'll Google it. I don't know. Right? The Russian state affiliated media or whatever. But yeah, they put me on this list. And I'm honored to be on it. It's a compliment. But yeah, well, I can't seem to find the graphic with Ukrainian writing talking about me being such a bad person and information terrorist. But yeah, that's my name on the official list. So there you go. And many people have pointed out that list is unconstitutional, and the U.S. government is covertly funding this list, that violates Americans' rights to freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. The Ukrainian government also, they did a really neat graphic. Let me see if I can find that, of the Center for Political Innovation, Rage Against the War Machine. We put that on our website. They put us on another list we were put on. It was like a Ukrainian think tank made this like image of us, and they had a map, right? Yeah, U.S. State Department targets Rage Against the War Machine coalition, and they put us at like the center of this conspiracy involving Gray Zone, and yeah, the U.S. State Department funds this group in Ukraine that that targets dissidents, they made this special graphic about our organization. And here we go. I'll put it on the screen, right? And it's like this web, right, where we're at the center of it, right? So you got the Gray Zone over here, Center for Political Innovation, Angela McCurdle, Rage Against the War Machine, People's Party, Max Blumenthal, RT, and we're like part of this like elaborate Russian spider web. Bum, bum, bum. It's pretty silly. It's the Data Journalism Agency, which is basically just a U.S. government-funded Ukrainian intelligence outfit, put out this map. What does this even mean? Like, how am I connected to the Gray Zone? I mean, they've quoted me a couple times. Does that mean I'm like, I've never been paid by the Gray Zone. I've never paid them. I mean, I've met Max. He's a nice guy. I like their work, right? Angela, she's a friend. Rage Against the War Machine. I like, and then Ron. I mean, you look at this. It's like this like conspiracy web, and it's like, it's like all these people have said, basically all these forces have said things about Ukraine the Ukrainian government doesn't like. That's really all that they have in common, but there you go. So thank you, Javier Torres. I do appreciate it. As I said earlier, if people want to support me directly, they can send Cash App, Caleb Maupin 22 on Cash App. If you want to support what the work that CPI is doing, the best way to do that right now is to donate to the GoFundMe, that we have set up for next year's convention. We're going to have a very big convention next year. And so, you can donate to the GoFundMe for next year's CPI convention that will be in the Chicago area in July. You can donate to that on GoFundMe, or you can, if you would like to, just support me, because we don't know exactly what's happening. My job is in a weird spot. I hope everything works out. If you would like to help me out, you can send something on Cash App, Caleb Maupin 22, and we'll see what happens. All righty. And the next question: what Trump is now promising is to defeat a communist threat that never existed in the first place, while Kamala is to defend consumeristic cultural freedoms that there are no plans to curtail in the first place. Yeah, I mean, look, when Trump says the communists, what that means to a lot of his supporters is people taking away their freedom, right? People surveilling them, people using cancel culture to tell them what they're allowed to say. the rioting of Black Lives Matter, chaos, instability. To Trump supporters, he's, I'm going to get the communists. Who are the communists, right? He's going to get CPUSA. Like, no, right? So I'm not worried about Trump saying that. I mean, he could do bad things as president. There's no question about it. And honestly, I noticed some very weird things happening around the word communism in the last couple months, right? I'm not going to go into detail about it. I mean, one thing I'll mention is that the International Marxist Tendency, which is a longtime group of counter-revolutionary Trotskyites, suddenly rebranded, and they're the Revolutionary Communists of America, RCA, and they're out everywhere with red flags going, we are communists, look at us, we're communists. And that was very, very odd. There's some other developments that have happened that are very, very odd, right? And so that made me wonder if, like, maybe after Trump wins, there'll be some kind of false flag and they'll blame the communists for it, and that'll justify, be an attempt to push Trump to do something very, very bad. Look, they're trying to say that the attacks on Trump are coming from Iran. They're not coming from Iran. They're coming from Ukraine. I mean, this guy wasn't tied into Iran in any way. He may have made a statement, but I mean, they're pretty clearly. The position on Iran of Kamala and Trump is pretty identical. But there's a difference on Ukraine, and this guy didn't have ties to Iran. He had ties to Ukraine. So there we go. Michelo and Javier Gomez are Argentinian influencers who went to Venezuela to show the truth about the country. They're getting attacked by Argentine media for allegedly being on Maduro's payroll. Of course. Right? I mean, if it doesn't match the mainstream narrative, it must be propaganda. I've been to Venezuela. I've seen how socialism has improved people's lives. And of course, right? That's what they do. Richard Medhurst is a great guy too. He's being persecuted in the United Kingdom, and that's complete bullshit the way they're going after him. I mean, there's a huge amount of political repression going on. And that's why it makes me seethe every time Kamala Harris is like, oh, we got to save our democracy by voting for me. You're already crushing democracy, right? I was not afraid of my freedom being taken away under Trump. I'm afraid of it being taken away under Biden, right? And look what's happening to Richard Medhurst in the UK, what happened to Uhuru, what's happened to so many Trump supporters that have gone to jail over January 6th and all of that. And then they're like, oh, we got to vote for Trump to preserve our rights. I'm sorry, my rights are already under threat. My rights are already being taken away. Scott Ritter's home was just raided by the FBI. I'm supposed to vote for Kamala to protect my rights. Kamala is the one repressing me, right? Kamala is the one repressing me. So there we go. I mean, I find it really, really absurd when I start hearing that argument from the Democrats. Oh, we got to vote for them because our freedoms will be taken away. Really? Because they're the ones taking our freedom away. And Trump didn't do anything near what they did in terms of suppressing political opponents and opposition. They're the ones jailing their political opponents. And then they're saying, but Trump might do it if he wins. It's like, So there we go. All right, folks. Well, listen, I think those are all the super chats that have come in. So on that note, I'm going to put on the closing music. But yes, CPI has some great activities coming up, and I am optimistic. I don't know what the future will bring, and it'll be good to have clarity. But I know either way, no matter what happens, we have got a great future of anti-imperialist work. New upsurge in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression. But the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. And while the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today.